And welcome to CSL Leesburg. Happy Sunday. Our theme for this year is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our focus this month is Reaching Higher. The title of our talk today is Transcend and Include. And I cannot wait to find out what that's all about. Our speaker will be our wonderful spiritual director, Charlene Banks. We're so glad that you joined us today. We invite you to get comfortable and relax into this moment as we start our service. Please join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intentions of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. Our third pillar is meditation and the divine quality of peace. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. As we give, so shall we receive. And the fifth pillar is sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be of service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, power, peace, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is. Please feel free to add to the chat or to the comment section any prayer requests or celebrations that you would like us to include later in the service when we provide our community spiritual mind treatment, which is a form of affirmative prayer. And now join us as we move into our time of meditation with Charlene.
Hello, and thank you, Tamara, so much. Your calm presence is just such a welcome Sunday morning gift. So thank you for opening our sacred space with your beautiful light. And so welcome everyone to this second Sunday in September, where we're just going to start with our community practice of settling in and going within. So I invite you to close your eyes, settle into the seat that you're in right now, and just take one deep cleansing breath with me. And as we just feel into this center part of our being, that place where we've never been hurt or harmed, we really sense right here and right now that there is something bigger happening, something deeper happening. We're being called to something greater. It's a still small voice. But when we get quiet, it becomes louder. listen. If you're willing, on your in-breath, just breathe in the words, I am. So breathing in, I am. And then if you're willing, hold that breath for a moment. And when you breathe out, choose peace. Every in-breath, I am. Every out-breath, the quality of God that we are. I am joy. I am love. I am beauty. I am wholeness. The words I am are the most powerful words ever spoken. As divine beings, we are creating the lives that we live right here and right now. When we say I am, we are bringing the creativity of the divine into our present moment. So we are so grateful. I am grateful to know this truth, and grateful that I get to use these words to create my life. And so with this gratitude and with this love, I simply ask that we return into the room in which we sit, wiggling fingers and toes to get back into our bodies. And I simply just release all those good vibes and just say, and so it is. And now we have a treat, a musical treat from a group outside of DC. I guess they're in DC, and they're called Project Locria. And they were curated by our wonderful music, I call her our music director. She doesn't know she's our director. But you know Leah, she's amazing. She offered up this gem. Woo! That's awesome. Let me change this so that I am spotlighted. Hold on. So welcome. Welcome back. So it's interesting how, I mean, that music, even though there were no words and there's nothing to draw you in with the lyrics, I was taken right there. I love the I forget the name of the instrument that the lady on the left was playing. It just reminds me of my favorite band, Hiroshima. They play that. I just love it. But welcome, welcome. Today's talk is Transcend and Include. That's the title, because the whole month of September, we're talking about rising, right? Reaching higher. That's the monthly theme. And so last week I was talking about, even though we like to think there's no such thing as higher, there's no such thing as better, but there is. There's something higher. There's a higher consciousness. There's something to which we are evolving. And so that can't be lost on us. And I was doing a lot of reading because I am in ministerial school and they have us reading a ton of things. And when I read certain things, it makes me want to read other things. And even items, books that I've read before, books that I've heard about, books that I've skimmed over, I read them again with a newly found interest. I don't know if this has happened to you guys. The layers of learning that is education, right? The onion that you peel. And so what really kind of grabbed me, I don't even know where to start, but I think I'll start at the beginning. For example, when you're born, you're a baby. All you know is yourself. You know that the other is there to serve you. Let's be honest. The baby is the narcissist. And rightly so, right? The baby knows that she is hungry, and this being shows up and feeds her. And she knows sometimes her diaper's wet, and this being shows up again and changes her diaper. Really, pretty much, the baby understands it's all about me. And I'm not sure what age. I know Elaine, who does family systems, could know. She would tell me exactly what age it becomes very important that that little narcissist realizes that she's part of a bigger whole. Now, when she comes to realize it's not just her and the family, it's not all about her, does this little baby then forget everything she did before and start new, being a new being in a family? No. All the things that the baby has gotten to, we're talking, they probably are past their terrible twos by the time they realize, oh, other people matter. I'm thinking around 3, that they bring with them all their knowledge, all their learning. How could they not include all of the things that came up to this moment of paradigm shift and then enter into this next paradigm with all the good things that they got from being the little narcissist baby? And then the whole new enculturation happens, doesn't it? They grow up and they're in a family and they find out that, oh, so you're not supposed to, that's what I talked about a couple weeks ago, leave the milk out on the counter. Got it. Put it in the fridge. Little things that we teach our children how to be in the world, in our family system. Now, barring any dysfunctional system, I mean, aren't they all kind of dysfunctional? But barring any extreme dysfunction, we rise to a level of being able to function in our family. Then we show up at school or whatever represents school for you. I mean, as a homeschooler, I made sure that we showed up all the time in another group, an organization called Jack and Jill, and I made sure that we always showed up on time and did the social things so that our home wasn't the only place that culture had to happen, right? And so for your next level of enculturation, and I'm not sure I'm using that word right, but we're going to go with that word. And there you are. Now you're in a school. And let's find out how we do line up for classes, how we do lunch period, how we do dealing with other people. Hopefully church is also part of that, cultivating this human being into the world of living with other citizens. And so what we do is we bring what we learned from home into this larger culture. And it's always transcending and including and transcending and including. You're always growing up a little bit and including everything you've got so far, bringing it to the next thing. And sometimes we bring a little too much with us. Now, I want to just read you a little story like I always like to do. This story is about someone's first day at school. All right. It was my first day at school. I felt nervous and scared. I went to all my classes with no friends. It felt like no one cared. I listened anxiously to all the lessons and waited for lunch break at 1. Then, finally, the bell rang. It was time to talk and have fun. In the lunch line, I met a new friend who wore a hijab on her head. And though I am Jewish, we got along fine. And I was so relieved when she said, "Sit with us. Sit at our table." She pointed to the one next to the door, so I agreed and took my tray and was about to walk with her across the floor when suddenly I felt a nudge. "Hey, I saw you on the bus," said a tall girl in a long skirt. "I see your Jewish star necklace. You should sit with us." And at that moment I looked around, and that's when I noticed, to my surprise, the nations of the world isolating themselves. That's what I saw through my own eyes. The Spanish only sat with Spanish, the Hindus only with Hindus, the Russians always with the Russians, and never the Arabs with the Jews. I saw the reason why war gets started. Everyone sticks to their own kind. The lunchroom was a map of the world. Why was everyone so blind? And so I turned down this girl and went with the first. And there was no enmity. I built a bridge between two worlds when I sat with those different from me. This story from Sharon Fleischer helps sort of illustrate when we leave our cultural cocoon that was set up so carefully by our families, by our church, and by our extended culture. What happens when we go into the larger setting? What happens when we show up at the lunchroom or at the office boardroom or in the public plaza? What happens? Do we only choose to congregate with those that are like us? Or do we, like Sharon, open our eyes and realize, well, if we keep seeing each other as other, if we keep bringing these small, separate ideas about who we are into the bigger culture, then of course there would be war. Of course no one would ever understand each other. Of course there will be no bridges made. And so I do love that story because it does sort of bring up the idea about when you grow and when you transform and transcend, how much of what you learned before are you going to include in your current paradigm? And that's very social, philosophical even, social political. But let's switch our gears now and let's look at what it is to be human in a spiritual center. Because the parallels do line right up, don't they? It's important that we, as individuals who come through Science of Mind or other New Thought teachings, we realize that we ride on the shoulders of those that came before us. The Eastern, it's really ancient wisdom. They call it New Thought, but it's really a phrase, New Thought, comma, ancient wisdom, right? Because the Eastern traditions have always known we are all one. We are all part of the divine. In the Hindu tradition, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of gods and goddesses. You heard me, goddesses. Just Shiva and Shakti, just as powerful as each other. There's no leaning toward the divine masculine who overpowers all, who is now the one who subjugates all the women. No, no, no. In Hindu culture, they understand the balance that is required in the universe, that the masculine and the feminine are two sides of the same thing, of oneness. And so we know when we come into a teaching like ours that we've already transcended some of the ways in which we were taught to think when we were growing up. We may want to include some of the things we learned before. It's not just like the baby who grew out of its narcissistic traits and went ahead and joined the family and is now interdependent. It's just like that. We don't forget all of our relationships with God and with the spirituality of what we grew up with. And I don't know about your particular religious background, but for me, it was pretty awesome, right? I got to go to like 4 different churches growing up. We sang in the Methodist choir, the Baptist choir. We marched down the center of the church, singing the songs and swaying with the choir and doing all the things. The Bible stories were great. Summer camp with the Bible stories were awesome. And I would never want to leave behind all of my internalized connections with who God was, because it's not wrong. It's not bad. And so what I love about our teaching is that we don't make any particular religious path wrong. No, 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 no. It's not wrong to be Muslim. It's not wrong to be Jewish. No, no, no. Bring that with you, because what we want to embrace is our personal connection to the divine. These practices of meditation, of prayer, of contemplation, of service, those are universal, and we call it the golden thread. The golden thread of all the religions, all the great religions believe that do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. And forgiveness and compassion are the order of the day. And so while we stick with that and kind of ditch any dogma, I always call it bring your own dogma. If you've got it, we're not going to make you toss it, but you don't have to have it. Whatever works for you, man. But so we don't really go down the path of a lot of the othering of different religions, because the idea is, isn't the divine present everywhere? How can we say it's only here but not over there? And if you look at systems theory, which is the other thing I was looking at this weekend, I was mentioning how my studies have brought me back again to philosophy. And you'll find that religion and philosophy used to be really well connected, right? And then certain things happened, right? And they kind of split off. Science even looks at material, like the mechanistic world. We call it the Newtonian physics, or just mechanics. Everything material is mechanical, and it all works like a machine, right? And you could go, it's just, the universe is like a clock. The planets move just like clock machinery, and everything is mechanistic. But then you've got biology, which is not so mechanistic, and even that with science had to kind of broke off. And so I'm reading all the different philosophical points, and what really stuck out to me, because it's a lot, it's heady, and I don't want to go too much there, but what stuck out to me was this: hierarchies. Like, for example, the hierarchy. When you think of hierarchy, what do you think about? I know for me, I think my business mind thinks about an org chart with the president at the top and the vice presidents, and then you got your people. But when you talk about biological hierarchies, we're looking at concentric circles where a cell gets with other cells and makes up an organ. Tissues. Tissues make up an organ makes up your body, and that is sort of, your whole body exists because of all the things that are inside of it that make you whole. And so they call it a holarchy. It's a hierarchy of wholes. Like, there's a whole lung working with the whole other lung working with a whole heart working with the rest of my body, and it's like a holarchy, right? And the part that makes me think about religion and spirituality is that there is a top-down kind of causation. I can cause my hand to move because my brain said, hey, hand, you should move, right? But my hand doesn't get to tell my whole body what to do. It's like a top-down kind of organization. So here's what I thought about when I'm reading this, because all that's just backstory. You're like, duh, I get that, Shar. But here's the cool part. When we come to an organization, a community like CSL, aren't we different wholes that make up a bigger whole? Like, if I am an individual Shar, I'm like a lung. And then Tamara is like the other lung. And then Elaine is like the heart. And then I could go through, and we're the body of CSL Leesburg. So that's really cool. But get this. Then I had this thought, because my brain works like this. I had this thought. So when we all pray together and when we all do our practices together, if we all sat and did a visioning, then the top-down causation is coming from the divine, obviously. I mean, it comes through us, each of us individually, but collectively, we get a vision, we can catch a vision that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So all of us sitting together, even remotely like this, we are more powerful than individuals of us just running around and doing what we are meant to do. So what I'm saying is, we would never stop growing and becoming more and more of who we individually are. But then we make it even bigger by coming together as a community and then seeing what is ours to do as a community. So we are individually like the baby a little bit, or just like a lung, who knows how to be a lung, and yet part of a bigger whole with a W. And think about CSL Leesburg. That's just Leesburg. Aren't there other CSLs all across the world? Yes. I wonder if we have goals for an organization. Yes, we do. Funny that, because there's a whole list of what we as an organization around the world are trying to do. In a nutshell, we're trying to make the world a better place for all inhabitants of that world. I mean, it goes down and there's a lot of different principles. I could show you that some other time. But as an organization, we're a bunch of wholes, then making an even bigger wholeness. And so as we move through, we know we're part of something bigger, always growing, always transcending our current situation or our current challenges, bringing with us what works into our next paradigm, into our next shift in what is coming, what is yet to be. And so you might ask, well, what is yet to be? What's coming? The cool part is we get to decide what's coming. We are participants on this planet because our CSL organization is just one of many spiritual organizations that are all doing their part in this world to make it more harmonious, to get people fed. Everybody should be fed with the opulence that is us. How are people hungry still? How is that? And so we have, I could go down the whole list, but we all know, we are all aware of some of the trials and tribulations that we're going through, but are we aware of what we can do about them? And so we have two-pronged approach. And the first is to sort of step in to your greatness so that then you can contribute to the whole. So I have a couple of quotes, of course, as I tend to do. One is from Elaine's favorite, Richard Rohr. He has a book called Falling Upward. God is the one whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. God is all-inclusive, the essence of everything within all things, but not enclosed. Outside all things, but not excluded. Above all things, but not aloof. Below all things, but not debased. God is all in all. From her, through him, and in her is all power, presence, and essence. And so what about when it doesn't look like that? So there you are, you're on the freeway and somebody cuts you off. Your first thought is not, God is in her, is it? No, it's hard, it's tough. That's my biggest one, driving. A certain part comes out in me, I'm not proud of it. I'm working on that. So what do we think about when that person cuts us off or somebody's pretty rude? Rudeness. So what can we say to ourselves? Now, one thing you can do in the moment is sort of just breathe and do the I am breath, the I am going in, and then compassion. And what I've tried to do is make up a story about the person, one that is, let's just say, you never know what someone's going through. You never know. And so I make up some story, that kind of story that just changes everything. The one story I'm reminded of about the man on the bus with his 2 children, and he's sitting in his seat, kind of despondent, and he's looking down, and his kids are kind of getting in further and further sort of throes of disruption. These kids started out just, they were sitting next to each other playing fake sword fight with, laser, whatever, Star Wars, like that. And then they get up and they start, jostling each other. And now, as the bus is driving and stopping, they're falling all over passengers. They're just being disruptive. And some of the people are looking at this guy, kind of checking him, like, get your kids. And just consistently looking and checking him, but he's not, he's looking down. And so someone said something to him. And he looked up and he, as if shaken out of his stupor, he goes, oh, I'm sorry. We're kids, sit down. We're coming back from the hospital. They just lost their mother. Oh my God, right? Think about how that must have changed the energy of those people on that bus, right? And just thinking about it now, I'm like, oh my God. Sorry, I thought those bad things about you and your kids. So I've been practicing doing that with the lady that cuts me off. I know that it could be that she's just being a jerk, but I'd rather say, oh, that poor thing, maybe somebody is in the hospital and she has to get there, or maybe there's an emergency, or maybe. So I just try, because for me, it just does me a favor, because I'm not doing myself any favor of spinning myself up into a, frothy mess about something that someone else appears to be doing to me. First of all, they don't even know me. They don't notice me. Even if they did, it's not really me that they see. They're seeing their stories they tell themselves about me. Like, why would I get myself all riled up? This is the goal. I'm not going to say I meet that goal every day. But the idea about compassion for your fellow human being as our first go-to, and using a story about them that is compassionate rather than, another reason to put all our anger there. That's just a tip. But it's just, everyone's trying to do the best they can. And sometimes we fall and we get right back up, and we just hope that others have the grace to forgive us. And we can accept that forgiveness if we've been forgiving constantly during that day. We only get what we give. And then, so if you feel like you need more forgiveness, give more. If you feel like you need more love, be that love. And that's the only way that I know any of this works, because it's always what I bring is what I get back. So hopefully something in there helped you. I have a feeling that is done. I feel like that's done. I do have one final quote for you before we go into prayer. It's from Ken Wilber. Every new level of complexity both transcends the limitations of the earlier level and includes the less complex structure into itself. Molecules transcend and include atoms. Tissues transcend and include molecules. Organs transcend and include tissues. Ecosystems transcend and include organisms and their environments, and so on and so on. So if we ask ourselves, how can we change this thing out there? Well, we change us. Okay, let's go within. And so with this awareness of our oneness and this idea that we are always unfolding and always transcending to our better, higher yet to be, we go within. Knowing that we are always one with the divine. We cannot be separate from the divine if we tried. We live, we move, we have our beingness in the fabric of creation, which is God herself. We live, we move, we have our being in the one. And although we appear to be separate from one another, we are all one. We are part of the same fabric of humanity, the same fabric of life itself, animate and inanimate. We are all together as one. And so with this awareness, I know that since I cannot be separate from God, God must be right here. Well, then all the qualities of God are right here. The qualities of peace and love and power and joy, beauty and wholeness, abundance. We know that those are the qualities of the divine, the pure essence of spirit. And so I speak my word for anyone within the sound of my voice, either watching after or just hearing this right now. We are able to pull from the divine anything, any attribute which we feel we need to express, so we feel wants to express itself as us. Because we find that what we're seeking is seeking to express through us. We're seeking abundance. Abundance is seeking to express itself through us. We're seeking love. Love is expressing itself through us. It wants to. It's open. We find an opening and we allow that to shine through. We don't have to ask for gifts. We've already been given the gifts. We simply recognize and embrace the gift. We say yes to what has already been ordained. The full divinity of God is right here, right now. All we need to do is say yes. And then we show up in life, revealing this truth, being the blessing wherever we go, bringing that joy, being compassion, being that place of love. Instead of looking for it, we bring it. We are it. That is what our practice is. Every day, every moment, revealing the divine. We are the hands of God. We are the hearts, the eyes, the ears, the mind of God. And so is everybody else. And with this understanding of our oneness and our power, I speak my words specifically for points on this planet which need more light to be revealed. And so I turn my attention to the places where there are fires. May there be ever expanding ability to just quench those fires and to bring back the equanimity and the balance in those places. Anywhere where there's hunger, dis-ease, unbalanced thinking, imbalanced living, I speak my word that those right there are right where God is, and that God is ever revealing itself in each moment, the way it will be recognized, the way it will be embraced and expanded on. It's already becoming. It already is. And so I give thanks for this awareness. I know that as I've spoken my word, it is already moving, because the law always says yes. It always meets me right here. And so I simply give great gratitude for this awareness, just knowing that it has already been done. So I just release it now. I let it go. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. And now let's hear from... okay. I've got that prayer request. Definitely I'll be holding Tony in prayer as well. All right. We will now return to our project Lokriya. That was very, very, very good. So Tamara had to take off. She has to do something, so I will be presenting the rest of these little announcements. Wasn't that really good music, you guys? Loved it. Okay, so what's next? Well, as you know, there are many ways to support our organization, and so it is now time just to talk about donations, just a little teeny bit. So your donations not only help to further our center activities, but we also tithe to other needs, not really needs, but we tithe. We also give. So if you want to see the places that we've tithed, just go to our website and look and see how your donations help bless others. So here's how to do it. You could just Cash App or text us or just send it through PayPal. Plenty of ways to support CSL Leesburg. I'll let you read that slide for more info. But whatever way you're giving, just go ahead and grab your gift or the idea of your gift and hold it over your heart. And then say with me our affirmation. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the lives of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. And some of the ways in which we use your gifts are, in Dream Study. We offer Dream Study every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Although this Tuesday we might postpone it because many of our members are traveling. But it's a good way to kind of say what you've been dreaming about and what that could mean for you. And then we do prayer and visioning Wednesday evenings. Just click on Zoom. Go to our cslleesburg.org website, click Zoom, and join us at any one of those times. Now, back to this. We have a new class starting in October. This class, taught by Tamara, who you met her earlier today. It's a class called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. It is the sort of introductory class to all of the teachings of Centers for Spiritual Living. And so we decided to offer this on Saturdays. The 5 Saturdays in October are the 5 Saturdays of the course. And so we start at 1 p.m. and it'll go till 3:30 Eastern Time. And it's going to be online on Zoom. You will be able to start your whole, there's a whole course curriculum. This is kind of the first of a list of courses that you could take if you wanted to do any deeper study. And because a lot of the things I talk about in the 20 minutes on Sunday are just tips of the iceberg. If you want to get a little deeper and do some of the practices like meditation, and do you want a whole different life, come on, take this class. We have a sign-up sheet. It's coming soon. And a little advertising. It's going to say, so if you're not living the life you want, come take this class. All right. The other thing is save the dates. Now, on September, we're doing a new member intake. And let me swap what I'm sharing. Let me just really quick share something else, because Tamara so lovingly gave this to me. Okay. There. All right. Sorry. Not that one. That one. Okay. Save the dates. September 26th, we are going to do a question and answer session. And what does that mean? Well, the question and answer, let me scoot that out of the way and then scoot this. All right. The question and answer session is so that if you want to become a new member, usually you attend the question and answer session to find out, well, what does CSL believe? What is it? What are the principles? Because part of becoming a member says, I am going to become a member of this organization, which, and I'll uphold the principles. You should know what they are. They're all good. There's nothing bad. And so we'll have answers if you want to hang out after church, after service on the 26th. You ask some questions, we got some answers, and you can decide. And then you'll see, well, what is it and why would I become a member? What's the reason? We'll talk about that. And then when you decide, we'll have a new member Sunday, yay! And then we'll sort of do a little small ritual to welcome you into the fold. And then, because you're a new member, then you can come to our annual meeting and vote on stuff. That's part of the perks of being a member of CSL Leesburg. And, membership is not required, but it's recommended. So there's that. Those are the dates to save. And there may or may not be a picnic coming up. We still have to decide on that. All right. So there's that. And now let me get back to our regularly scheduled presentation. Remember, after this, we're going to hang out in the Zoom room. So if you're watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live, hang up, come on over to Zoom, click on Zoom and the cslleesburg.org website, and we'd love to see your shining face and say hi. So for now, we're going to close the service and simply just thank you for coming. And what we do is we have this affirmation where you close your eyes and put your hand over your heart and you say, "Why, I am love." You said it out loud, right? I am love. Now open your eyes and look around. And if you see anybody, point to them and say, "Well, you're love too. You're love." And then put your hands up and say, "It's all love. Love sprinkles." And I hope you have a blessed rest of the day. And I hope to hang out with a few of you while we share our pearls. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.